Good morning, folks. I'm afraid to say it's week 13. Obviously, hopefully, it's going to bring us some decent luck and some decent weather, but fingers crossed on that one because it's been pretty rubbish since, hasn't it? Okay, so let's have a quick look. We've just done some work on tropical storms and we've started to look at how they form. You've done me a piece of work which basically describes the conditions. If you've struggled with that, then there is a GCSE pod which is nice and clear. It's only 3 or 4 minutes and it acts as a great reminder, so you can just basically copy and paste that and have a look at it a bit later on. Okay, so we're going to look at today, we're going to try and look at what the impact of tropical storms is likely to be. Now obviously you're meant to know two. You're meant to know one which is for a HIC, richer part of the world, and one from a knee or a lick, poorer part of the world. So we're going to have to do with both, and today we're just going to do the HIC. Okay, so what I want to do is to focus in on this particular storm system, very, very famous one. It is now actually 15 years old, but the fact is it remains a classic. And then you'll do Hurricane Sandy, which will follow. So this is going to be the one on Katrina. So a quick discussion point. So if you're doing the live lesson with me on Tuesday, I'll be looking at this photograph. This is a real photograph. This is a young car, but unfortunately driven by old people, even older than myself. So this is what happens. Two people have decided to leave their bungalow. They've left their bungalow because of the weather conditions, and sadly, only one survives for a part of the time. However, I want to have a discussion, and if you've missed the discussion, write down two pros, two cons for staying or leaving their actual bungalow. So I want you to explain whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, irrelevant to the fact that one of them dies. Okay, so this is right on the coast. They've decided to leave, so you've got to think about why they might have left, what would be a good idea, what would be a bad idea, and then obviously try and focus particularly on the weather conditions. So this slide has got 4 different devastated areas. Now, devastation occurs almost everywhere that a hurricane or tropical storm system actually touches land, depending upon a number of factors. So obviously you've got to think about the wind strength, you've got to think about the amount of rainfall, and you've got to think about the storm surge. In other words, how high the actual sea rises against the coast. Now there are other factors. Now, I've done them in different colours just to make it easier for you to think about. So obviously the height of the land. If you've got a great big cliff, then obviously the actual level of the water isn't going to rise particularly high against it. But if you're low-lying, that must have a factor. So what I want you to do is to explain in your own terms what you think a tropical storm will do. Will it have the same level of destruction everywhere it goes? So this is actual Hurricane Katrina. There is an article down here which I've just updated, and it kind of covers quite well, and I've also put it in for the upload in case you've not been able to follow the link. I've also put in a significant amount of detail. Now, the reality is that you need to be able to understand the impact of it. So if you have a look at this photograph, you can actually see yourselves just what this must mean. You know, it really does look like one of these great invasion sci-fi films, doesn't it? But the reality is that is towards the centre of Katrina. But just look how flat this land is. You know, the reality is that this is a very, very flat area. So it's going to have a huge, huge impact, isn't it? So there's a small article here. Very, very short. It's only a passage, and it kind of sums up ready for task 2. And in task 2, I want you to assess information that matches what you already know about hurricanes and how they move in. So was Katrina typical, or was it slightly different? Now, as you do this question, you're going to be able to use the resources that are in the PowerPoint. I'm not going to go through them all now, but this is the tracking. This area is the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, this is Panhandle, Florida. Notice it touches down there, but look at the colours. The darker the colour, the higher on the Saffir-Simpson scale there is. Now you will find a uploaded sheet for you to download and to copy out if you can't print it off, and that is just simply to write out the Saffir-Simpson scale. You're going to have to spend a couple of minutes just researching it, making sure that your details are right. Now you look along here, right, and on the previous piece of writing and the previous information and this tracking satellite system. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, you're never going to need to know all that, but you are going to have to do a bullet point, bit by bit, actual explanation of what actually happened. So that's what task 3 is. You've read the other ones, and then you add through so that you can actually describe the passageway or the tracking of a very, very well-known system. Now, the reality is the examiners will know it. So you will have to be accurate, but just have maybe 4 bullet points that you know well. 5 would be perfect. So moving on, there's a YouTube clip that I've put in here. So I want you to do this task. Now I really do want this one written to me and sent. Now you've got till the end of term to do that, but we'll talk it over. This is an area of New Orleans. New Orleans is a huge city. You can just about see it in the background, but you can see how flat it is. Low altitude and extremely flat. In other words, physically, it's in a bit of a doo-doo place. But why was it so badly flooded? Was it because of the amount of rainfall, the storm surge, or did this matter? This word here, levees. So levees, you're going to look them up if you don't know what a levee is, but basically it's banks of earth supported by concrete or whatever walls that humans construct to support them. So levees that are on either side of the river. Now in New Orleans' case, the river is the Mississippi. The Mississippi carries more water than just about all the rivers of Europe added together. And then add on the tropical storm Hurricane Katrina, a level 5 Saffir-Simpson scale, and you have got a major, major event of water happening. Now, there is a question that I want you to do, and I want you to examine the key factors. So this is the 8 marker that you're going to do, and I'm not asking you to write it and send it to me. I'm asking you to actually have a go at writing it out, because next week we're going to be discussing a decent answer. What makes a decent answer? And then you're going to do it. Okay, I've added in some extra information about the effects. Notice they are immediate, as in literally within the 24-48 hours of the actual storm hitting New Orleans. Then the longer term effects, some of those are into weeks, months, and even years. Okay, but they also break down socio-economically. Those are human factors, aren't they? And then environmental, which can be either the biome of the local area, the agriculture, or it could in fact be the urban zone that's been impacted. So environmental can cover all 3 of those, so immediate and long term. Now, New Orleans tidal surge and the flood zone map. As you actually click through a few bits, I've now added some more information and another GCSE pod for you to use. Now, you've got quite a range of facilities there. I'm asking you to do an explain question and then to prepare a longer answer. I'm not asking you to do anything else other than the forms quiz, which is based on last week's reading. And obviously, good luck, and email me with your answer and any questions. So I'm looking forward to speaking to each of you in the live lesson on Tuesday at 10 o'clock for year 10/11 and at 11:30 for the year 9/10s. Okay, so good luck and hope you have settled into this week.